years. His interests are in secure programming, cryptography, open source and firewalling techniques. For the last few years, he has been breaking mostly bank and telecom web applications in the Asia-Pacific region, as well as performing penetration tests for them. Originally from France, Fabrice has been staying in Singapore for the last 5 years. So ladies and gentlemen, do join me in welcoming Mr. Fabrice Marie, hacking internet banking applications.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to apologize for being sitting. I will not speak very loud. I fell sick just before coming here. So the goal of this presentation, basically, there's nothing technical. I believe there's loads of good presentation on how to perform properly web attacks. So instead, what I'll show you is I will just demystify a little bit what's behind internet banking, and I'll show you just how simple it is to perform an attack. And this presentation is also focusing on how to actually conduct proper procurements for internet application. You get taken advantage of every single time and you ask for more, so I'll show you how to avoid that. So what we're going to talk about are basically the usual attacks. I won't spend so much time on that. I will look at two kinds of attack, the read attack and the write attack, which will be the frauds, and mostly procurements and real-life statistics based on the last few applications we've audited. So all this is based on live results. All this has been out there. So I'll be quick on the banking architecture. It's always the same. There's always a three-tier architecture. It's always been done properly. The bank understands this for a long time. They always put firewall at each every layer. They put redundancy. They spend generally a lot of money on hardware and software for that. Some of the better ones even have reverse proxies. But all in all, it's mostly done properly. Technologies, you basically have two. You have Java. The advantage of Java, I would say, is that it runs pretty much everywhere. Unfortunately, all those application servers have their own better feature and so on. And in fact, well, those beta features, of course, are not portable across application servers. So in the end, your J2A application is supposed to run everywhere, but it won't. Another thing for bank is that we don't really care if it runs everywhere, because what you have to remember for banking technology is that the application does almost nothing by itself. It's mostly the interconnection with the bank host. It's the integration part of the bank application that's the biggest. The part that do all the business logic, which is fund transfer and all that, this is very, very, very small. .NET, so .NET, the advantage is that you run on one single platform. The only problem I personally have with .NET is that they allow programmers who should be shot to actually code just by clicking on buttons, and it works. Microsoft did a good job for that, is that it works. But the problem is that when you do not understand what you are doing, you will end up doing stuff you're not supposed to do, and of course we'll find it, and of course we'll hammer you with this. So the framework is a good framework. The problem is that people point and click without knowing what they're doing. So eventually, yeah, it won't work. We have Mono on the rest of the platform I mean, if your application run on .NET, but it's not mature yet. I would never run the banking stuff on Mono. So the funny part now, what is usually good within a bank, within a bank network to support the application? Usually, like I said, the network, system architecture, all that, banks understand this. There's plenty of guys out there who know how to do it, so the bank just put money on the table, get the guys to do it, and it's done properly. Session management is the single one on which all the banks spend all their money. They will come up with fancy authentication. All of them have a different one. Some of them have tokens, some have two-way authentication. They have all sorts of authentication. I'll show you later why this is all useless. Authentication will be useless in a minute. I'll show you why. It's very simple. In Singapore, we have password encryption from end to end, meaning from the client to the authentication box. So in other words, it means the bank never ever has your password. It's all in the black box. And of course, good quality trail, I need to explain a bit more. There is good accountability, good audit trails only for those successful and unsuccessful normal transactions. As in transaction that you haven't messed around. You just use the application. Succeed, succeed, fail, fail. Not something that you try to mess around with. When you try to mess around with it, we'll see later, there's no logs whatsoever, which is perfect for hackers. And well, I'm sorry, but that's all. All the rest is crap. Everything else. I will say in a minute just what is crap. Okay, what's usually not good? I want to apologize to any developers out there, because that's for you, this one. I'm sorry. I am a developer myself, so you know, some of this applied to me in the past and whatnot. That's probably also why I'm not a developer anymore. I don't like when people laugh at me for no reason. So yeah, programmers, I'll start by the bottom. Programmers, you are lazy. You really are lazy. I don't want to point fingers, but it's true. Well, I was as well. You're forced by your boss to use frameworks that are fantastic, do all sorts of things for you, but those frameworks don't adapt well to what is it that you have to do. Sometimes it's faster just to rewrite it. Don't be lazy. For developers out there, they will understand when I say this, you use the wrong hammer for the wrong thing. In whatever your job is, you always have a hammer. You always have 2 to 3 ways of doing it, and you have one favorite way of doing it. Now, regardless whether it's a good way to do it or not, you will use that way. So for programmers out there, you'll use a tokenizer or regexp, and you will use one and always use that one. Sometimes it's better to use one, sometimes it's better to use the other. And of course, people never log any errors, never ever. Bad quality code, that speaks for themselves. Be nasty with it, you're just going to die. And lack of input validation is basically the single biggest problem that happens with web applications in general. The thing is that on a lot of applications, it's pretty tough to do input validation. I mean, you depending on what parameter is it that you want to validate. In banking, it's very simple. We only validate numbers. We only care about numbers. Numbers, emails, and maybe 3 different types of data like this. So don't tell me you can't input validate these. There's nothing to be done. You do a library once, you keep on reusing it, and you're in business. So that's usually very bad, and there is a lot more than that. Those are things that I've seen in real life as well. It's not funny. I mean, it's funny without being funny. I'm being serious. I've seen that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stupid people out there. They believe that a hidden field is hidden. Bravo to all those who believe that it was. It's not, in case you don't know. Anybody can say it. They believe the drop-down button, you can only select what you see. So again, we don't use your browser, so you know, we can change pretty much whatever we want. They also believe that what's not in the menu cannot be run. That is a fantastic concept as well. Yeah, they forget that everything runs on the server, on the clients. We just instruct the server to do it. So all we have to do is ask the server to do it, and it will get done. So for those who don't know what's a cookie, don't worry, it's nothing to be eaten. But for those who know, it's an input like any other. And it is an input like any other. There are countless programmers who believe that cookies are something magic that you can't touch. You can't mess with cookie, can you? Of course we can, it's just an input like any other. And my absolute favorite about idiots of programmers who believe that hexadecimal or base64 or any other encoding is some form of encryption. So to those idiot programmers, I would say get a dictionary. The dictionary is very clear that encryption needs a key to encrypt or decrypt, for that matter. If you do encryption without a single key, that's called encoding, because any idiot can decode it. No matter how fancy is your encoding, as long as we know what you're using, and you're going to be using the same 4 usual stuff, hexadecimal, base64, you encode, we just look at it, we know it already. It's always the same, you know. So don't try to outsmart us with some encoding. Try encryption on the other hand. It's the same function call. I mean, it's just one function call as well, but it's just you give a key, one more parameter. Don't be lazy. And of course, there's a lot more, but those are like the top 5, 6 most stupid things that I've seen in web application. We should do a competition one of these days of the most stupid programmers. I tell you, there are some of them should be shot, really. So what do we need for a successful attack? And then probably you will stop laughing in a while. Is that we don't need much to do an attack. Like I said, I don't really care about your authentication. It can be the most secure, it can be biometrics, it can be whatever you want. I'm going to open an account with your bank, and you will welcome me open arms. I'll just deposit $5,000 on my account. You'll be happy to get me as a customer, you know. I mean, you see, I dress nice, you know, you wouldn't know. And so, sure enough, you're going to give me a username and a password because I am a customer and I need to access my money. And, well, this is another thing. Sometimes there is a smart card end-to-end encryption. They use crypto smart cards. This will just make it a little bit harder for us to break in the sense that we'll have to modify some of our tools to work with this. It's still possible. It's just, you're just slowing us down a bit. And that's all I need. So you see, anybody can start doing that kind of stuff. All I have to do is to open an account with your bank. Shouldn't take too long. I don't know how long it is in Malaysia, but it should be about the same as Singapore. Just come with your passport and the cash, and well, they ask you lots of questions, and you're out, and that's it. It is possible without this, of course, but the attack won't be so interesting anymore. Right now, we're going to use the application to perform all our attacks. We don't even have to understand how does it work behind the hood. I don't know anything about finance. I don't have to. It doesn't. I mean, I just ask the application to give me the money, and it does. So you know, that's all I care for. So without this, it's still possible. It's just slightly harder. So remember, your authentication, no matter how fancy it is, I don't care. I just don't care. It's good to have some because otherwise anybody can log on to the application and anybody can do what we're going to do later. Right now you're limited to your customers, more or less. Having said that though, you're saying that since it's your customer, you'll be able to bust him once he steals money from you, but you won't. Because I said earlier on, the audit trails are extremely bad when hacking is happening. So eventually you still won't catch the guy. What do we use? Well, we don't use anything fancy. It's really just pure basic. A lot of bankers, when they are behind us, they expect to see swordfish kind of stuff. You know, nice 3D graphics moving around, whatnot. No. When you hack the bank, it's just a proxy and it looks boring. It is boring. I will try to make it slightly less boring. We use a lot of decompilers. A lot of vendors hate us for that. Our personal favorite, we found one very nice, for example, in the backend, an authorization function, which read the body of the authorization function was return true, so it means you're always authorized. So that's pretty handy as well. They hate it when you decompile that kind of stuff because you show the stupidity right away. You just show where is the mistake. We use encoders and decoders. Remember, this is not force. You can brute force all you want because there is no error logging whatsoever. So, and when there is an error logging, sometimes it's just all the exceptions that are put into a flat file. So at the end of the day, when you have 2 million exceptions in a flat file, good luck with your forensics. Just good luck. I'll be gone a long time ago with all your money. Banking messages are those small messages, you know, when you do a transaction, you will tell you, oh, your telegraphic transfer failed, or it succeeded, or you didn't have enough money last minute to transform it. All sorts of little basic information, but that could be quite interesting. So it's also possible to read other people's banking messages. This one is extremely straightforward, all the implementation we've seen, because every time they use an incremented message ID. So you can read everybody's message, just increment one by one and ask for the next message, next message, next message. If you get a message that doesn't exist, it means you reach the last message in the database. So it's extremely quick. You start with message 1 and go all the way up. That's a personal favorite as well. It's always nice to know what your boss spends on, or what's your prime minister what spends on. It depends if you're into politics or not. I'm not, so I'm more interested in what the boss spends on. You have to have the card, the number most of the time. But don't go and think that, oh, it's safe, you know, card number, nobody knows it. Bollocks. Everybody got the card number of everybody. It's not difficult. All I have to do is to go for a beer with you. You're going to buy me a beer, and I will see your card number. You know, it's only 4 times 4 digits. I think I can remember that. And, you know, that's all I need. This and your name. And maybe the CCV code behind.